Jim. Is everybody back who needs to be back?
Yes, Your Honor, from the state of investor.
Defense is ready to present our case, Your Honor.
Right.
At this time, the defense calls the defendant, Ms. Chase Covington, to the stand. Just do what's all right. Ma'am, can you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Hi, I'm Chase Covington.
Ms. Covington, the jury's heard the accusations that the state has brought against you here today, and I want to give you a chance right off the bat to respond to them. Did you ever accept any money from Avery Bancroft?
Absolutely not. That's not what I stand for, and I've worked to ensure that's not what my office stands for.
What do you mean?
Well, as you probably know, and unfortunately, our city developed a reputation for corruption in the last few decades. When I was appointed to this position, I understand that it was possible someone might approach me and ask me to do something on the side. My policy, as directed by the governor, was to be very direct with those individuals, be clear with them, and give them a second chance to be clean. And if they persisted, to call the cops.
Ma'am, how'd you get started on the Gambling Commission?
Well, I started working as an attorney in a private law firm. It paid well, but ultimately I wanted to work in the public sector. So when the position in the gambling division opened up, I jumped on it. My father, he played poker professionally and instilled an interest in me, and so I thought it was a good fit for me.
What were some of your responsibilities when you signed on as the commissioner?
I was in charge of regulating gambling throughout the state.
The jury's heard today about a casino licensing process. Can you just tell them exactly how that worked?
Sure, so every 10 years, the state awards a new casino license. The Midlands Gambling Commission, that I'm the chair of, votes to decide who receives that license.
Who were the bidders this time around?
There were two. That was Avery Bancroft and Shannon Stark.
Can you just describe the pros and cons of their proposals if you can?
Absolutely. So Avery Bancroft's was a little bit smaller in size, had fewer gambling tables. It had a hotel attached, though. That was always nice to see. Shannon's was a little bit larger in size. That was good. But the main distinguishing factor for me was that Avery had demonstrated business experience in this area. He already owned a casino. Whereas Shannon didn't have any business experience. And the person who she partnered up with for the business experience, well, he had a failed business in his past.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation as to how Ms. Covington knows this.
No response.
Your Honor, first of all, it doesn't lack foundation because she's the commissioner and received the proposal. And second of all, it doesn't matter how she knows it if that's what she believed. We're offering this to show that she believed by the end of the process that Mr. Bancroft's proposal was better. So as long as she believed that one of the people applying for the other casino proposal had a failed business, that's relevant for the jury to hear.
Your Honor, the exact statements were that J.C. Longstreet had a failed business and Shannon Stark, I believe she said, had no business experience whatsoever. They are, in fact, offering that for the truth to say that their proposal was not as strong as Avery Bancroft's.
I agree with Mr. Stern. What is important is what this was read about those proposals. That's the relevant purpose. This was not the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you say you've got these two proposals from different candidates. Did you ever meet to discuss the proposals with the candidates?
Of course, I met with both candidates.
How many times?
About 3 different times.
When was the first time that you met in an official capacity with either of the candidates?
That was in April 5th.
What was the purpose of that meeting?
I wanted to meet with both of them to collect their physical proposals and talk with them about the details of them.
Where was that meeting held?
They were both held in my office.
And what do you mean you wanted to collect the proposals from them?
Sure, so they each brought their own proposals with them. Avery's was pretty detailed, brought all of the folders, the outline of the casino floor, blueprints, details about how much he expected things to cost, payroll, that sort of thing. And Shannon's was a little bit smaller in size. It was about 30 pages, roughly.
How did they present these proposals to you?
Shannon's, I think she pulled out of her purse, and Avery's was in a black briefcase.
And when did you receive it?
That was on April 5th.
We've heard today that prior to that, on March 31st, Mickey Keenan, a man who was working in your office, actually went to Mr. Bancroft and spoke to him on his own. Did you authorize that meeting?
No, I certainly wouldn't have authorized that. I had no idea they were meeting.
Do you know what was said in that meeting?
I heard today about the transcript, but I had no idea at the time.
Did you ever ask Mr. Keenan to instruct Mr. Bancroft to give a bribe?
Objection,
No.
Your Honor, relevant.
Repeat that question, I apologize.
Did you ever ask Mr. Keenan to instruct Mr. Bancroft to give a bribe?
All right,
Your Honor, that is relevant. Certainly if she did do that, it would be relevant because it would prove that she was interested in accepting a bribe. And if she didn't do that, it's relevant for the same purpose.
why is that not relevant?
They're asking this question to support their theory that Mickey Keenan was the one that forced this bribe on Avery Bancroft. That's why they're offering it, and for that reason, it's more prejudicial than it is probative.
All right, follow.
Your Honor, it makes it less likely that she solicited a bribe.
Yeah, I agree. I will.
Did you ever instruct Mr. Keenan to tell Avery Bancroft to give a bribe?
Absolutely not.
When Mr. Keenan approached you and asked about a bribe, what did you say?
I told him I wasn't interested in that. That wasn't how my office was going to be run. I wanted to be very clear with him about that, especially considering he was a staffer.
On April 13th, you said you had another meeting with Mr. Bancroft. What was the purpose of that meeting?
I did. I met with both candidates, again, in order to discuss the details of the proposal, talk with them about the changes that I wanted to see made.
How long was the meeting?
About an hour each.
What did you talk about during that meeting?
We talked about the specifics of the proposal.
Ma'am, in that meeting, did you hear Officer Keenan's testimony about a napkin?
I did, yes.
Can you just explain what happened there?
Sure. There was a moment at the start of the meeting where Avery brought out a napkin, wrote numbers on it, passed it to me. I was very direct with him. Per my policy as directed by the governor, I was clear with him that that's not what I wanted, that wasn't what our office was interested in, I don't know what he'd done in the past. I just wanted to talk about the specifics of our proposal. And that's what we did for the rest of the meeting.
Do you remember the specific words that you used in that meeting when he handed you the napkin?
I think I told him that I wasn't interested in anything like that.
Ma'am, after that point, during that meeting, did the bribe come up again?
No, after that, we spoke entirely about the proposal.
When you left that meeting, were you more or less confident in his proposal?
Certainly more confident.
When you left that meeting, did you think he was planning on offering you a bribe?
No, I thought I was very clear with him. I thought he understood. He seemed more relaxed after that point.
Ma'am, why did you continue to consider Mr. Bancroft if you thought that he'd offered you a bribe?
Well, I understood that that sort of thing might happen. For example, Shannon asked me also whether I wanted something extra. I was clear with her just as well. I wasn't interested in anything like that.
Objection, Your Honor, relevant.
Response.
Your Honor makes it more likely that she voted for the better proposal as opposed to the person who offered. We anticipate Ms. Oliver will cross-examine this witness on why she voted for someone who'd offered her a bribe. And certainly if the other contender had also offered her a bribe and she'd also declined that, that would make it less likely that the reason she voted for Mr. Bancroft was because of a bribe.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yeah.
I have no intention of crossing this witness on whether or not Shannon Stark, someone else, offered her a bribe and whether she accepted. Right now, the witness, or Chase Covington, is being charged with accepting a bribe from Avery Bancroft. What she did related to Shannon Stark, if she's saying that they did or did not offer a bribe, is irrelevant to this case.
Well, something tells me that the jury is interested in the question of why this witness continued to, and actually the prosecution probably is too, why the witness would give the nod to the person who proposed a bribe, even in the face of that. So in light of that being, I think, a very relevant fact, the objection is overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were telling the jury why you continued to consider Mr. Bancroft despite receiving the napkin that day.
Yes, so I had a similar interaction with Shannon where she asked me if I wanted something extra on the side. Again, I was very clear with her. I understood this sort of thing might happen given the past of the Gambling Commission, but that wasn't something I was interested in, and I was following this policy laid out by the governor.
When was the third time that you met with either candidate?
I met with both candidates the day before the vote.
What was the purpose of that set of meetings?
I wanted to ensure that they made the changes to the proposal that we had discussed.
Ma'am, did you bring anything with you to that meeting?
Of course, I brought the proposal with me, same way that I received it. Avery's I brought in that black briefcase.
Where was the meeting that you had with Mr. Bancroft on April 16th?
I met him on the casino floor. I was there that day.
Is that a public or a private location, ma'am?
Certainly public.
Are there security feeds there?
I'm not sure.
Are there other folks there on the floor?
Yes,
When you met with Mr. Bancroft on the casino floor in that public location, what did you say?
I asked him about his proposal. I asked him if he'd made those specific changes. I wanted to make sure that he had, answer any last questions that he had.
Did you indicate which way you were planning on voting?
Of course, I wanted to give both candidates a sense of what to expect the next day from me and let them know that we'd have to see where the vote turned out with the other candidates, the other voters.
Ma'am, when Mr. Bancroft showed up for that meeting on the 16th, was he carrying anything?
He was. He brought a briefcase to that meeting.
Any idea why he might have done that?
I don't know. Hearing things today, I don't know if he brought money, but I can tell you that what happened was there was this moment where he held it out to me. I thought that he was trying to give me a new briefcase in addition to the new proposal. I told him, no, I didn't need a new briefcase. I just wanted the new proposal. Did he have it with him?
What did he say?
He said that he forgot it, but he made the changes and we could talk about it and bring the changed proposal the very next day.
Did you see what he did?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Response.
Subsequent action, Your Honor.
Wasn't that such a
They're offering this for the truth, a statement that Avery Bancroft gave that he forgot the proposal, that he'd bring it to her the very next day. And we believe that she's going to testify that he did in fact bring it to her the next day. They're offering this statement for the truth.
Ma'am, did you see what he did with that briefcase that he brought to the meeting after you told him that you just wanted a new proposal, not a new briefcase?
I think that he put it underneath his chair.
What did you do with your briefcase?
I put it underneath mine.
Just to be clear, what was in your briefcase?
That was Avery's proposal, the briefcase I'd received from him at the start of April.
When you left that casino that day, were you more or less confident in his proposal than when you came?
Certainly more confident. He assured me that he'd made those changes that I had asked for.
The next day, who did you vote for?
I voted for Avery's proposal. It was a better proposal.
Now, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to some of the specific things that the state has brought here today. Would you recognize a copy of your bank statement if I showed it to you?
I would.
Let the record reflect I'm showing states 2 to the witness. And I believe the jury already has a copy published of the bank statement, State's Exhibit 2. Ma'am, did you hear the state talking during their case about a deposit that you made on April 17th of $250,000?
Yes.
Is that money bribe money?
No. No.
What is it?
I won at gambling at a publicity event on April 6th.
Can you explain just the nature of the event?
Sure. It's an annual event. It's held in the Black Bear Casino. It's something public, something to draw the crowds. They invite celebrities each year and also the head of the commission.
How'd you do?
Pretty well this year. I think they invited more celebrities than poker players. So I ended up winning $255,000 above my buy-in.
What was your buy-in?
$150,000. So when you win big. It's something to draw the crowds in.
Ma'am, is there any evidence on your bank statement of you withdrawing the buy-in you say you played with?
Absolutely. On April 1st, you can see that I withdrew $100,000, the maximum I can withdraw at any one time from my bank account. You can see I was at the Black Bear that same day. On April 6th, you can see that I withdrew the remaining $50,000. I went to the Black Bear that same day. On April 6th, you can see that I deposited $155,000. So that was my buy-in, $150,000, plus $5,000 above that. Anything you win above that $5,000, there's a waiting period put on that money before you can actually receive it from the Black Bear. It's a regulation put into place by the commission.
How long is the waiting period they put on the money?
It's 10 days.
Did you go ever and pick up the remainder of the money that you won?
I did, April 16th. That was part of why I met Avery on the casino floor that day. You can see on April 17th, the very next day, I deposited the money, $250,000. April 16th was the day before the vote. As you can imagine, it was a little bit busy.
Ma'am, you say it was a publicity event. Anybody see you win all that money?
Absolutely. You can ask anyone who was there that night.
Including, what sorts of people?
The
were there?
dealers, the crowd, anyone.
Ma'am, do you know what was in the briefcase that Avery Bancroft brought to the casino floor on April 16th?
No. I mean, I've heard people talking today. I don't know if there was money in it, but I can tell you that I never asked for it. I never wanted it. I never accepted it. Nothing.
When you left the casino that day, whose briefcase did you have?
I left with my own.
To this day, do you know what was inside of Avery Bancroft's briefcase that day?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, Your Honor, cross-examination.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Covington.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to ask you some questions on behalf of the people of the state of Midland, all right?
Sure.
Now, you had a meeting with Avery Bancroft on April 13th, right?
I did, yes. I had a meeting with both candidates.
Now, before that meeting with Avery Bancroft, 2 weeks before, you sent your assistant an email, right?
You're going to have to be more specific. I send my assistant lots of
Well,
emails.
sure. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness after approaching opposing counsel with what's been remarked to State 6. Permission, Your Honor, to approach?
Yes.
You're welcome. Ms. Covington, you recognize this email?
I do, yes.
It's a fair and accurate copy.
Yes, it appears to be.
Your Honor, at this time, we now move this into evidence of State 6.
An objection to state 6.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. P6 is received.
Now, Ms. Covington, you did send an email to your assistant 2 weeks before the meeting on April 13th with Avery Bancroft.
Who I thought was my assistant, that's Officer Keenan, yes.
In this email, you insinuate that Avery Bancroft's willing to give you a bribe.
Objection.
On what grounds, Your Honor?
Your Honor, counsel's testifying.
Your Honor, I'm asking the witness a question. If she thinks no, Avery Bancroft did insinuate this, then she can answer.
Agreed. It's crossover.
So, Ms. Covington, in this email, you insinuate that Avery Bancroft's willing to give you a bribe.
No.
Well, let's break down the exact language that you used. Now, you invited Officer Keenan to this meeting, right?
To what meeting?
To the meeting that you had on April 13th with Avery Bancroft?
Yes, that's correct.
You said there's a system to these things, right?
Yes.
You said it's time you learned how things really get done in my office.
Right. Officer Keenan had recently approached me asking if I'd be willing to accept something on the side. I wanted him to understand how business really worked.
Ms. Covington, I'm just asking for a yes or no to the words that you used in this email. The words you used were, it's time you learned how things really get done in my office, right?
Yes, those were my words.
You said Avery Bancroft seems to be willing to do something special to make this happen, right?
Right, make the changes that I was asking for.
You didn't mention anything about changes in this email, right?
Those weren't the specific words I used, no.
Your specific words were Avery Bancroft seems to be willing to do something special to make this happen.
That's right.
So then you took Officer Keenan to this meeting where you wanted to show him how things really got done?
That's correct.
In this meeting where you wanted to show Officer Keenan how things really got done, well, Avery Bancroft offered you a bribe.
He did, yes.
Now, during this meeting, you accepted a napkin from Avery Bancroft, right?
I didn't accept anything.
Well, you heard the testimony of Officer Keenan, right?
I did, yes.
You heard him say that Avery Bancroft wrote the statements, yes equals $250,000 on a napkin.
Yes, that's right.
You heard him say you took it.
Yes.
You heard him say that you put it in your coat pocket.
Yes, I crumpled it up. I wanted it out of the conversation. I wanted to be clear with him about what I was actually asking for here.
Now, you say that you crumpled it up because you wanted it out of the conversation. You heard the testimony of your brother, Tracy Monetos, right?
Yes, that's right.
You heard Mr. Monetos say that he found that napkin in your office, right?
No, I think he said he found it in my coat pocket.
So you heard Tracy Monetos say he found the napkin in your coat pocket, right?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Covington, like you said, you used to be a lawyer, right?
I did, yes.
You know judges.
Yes.
You know police officers.
I'm not really friendly with any of them.
But you know some.
I've met some in my life.
So after Avery Bancroft offered you a bribe, well, did you go report it to one of those judges?
No, per the policy of the governor, I was directed to give them a second chance to be clean, be clear about what this office wanted and stood for.
Ms. Covington, I'm just asking for a yes or no. So once Avery Bancroft offered you a bribe, you didn't go report it to one of those judges that you know?
I didn't at that time. If he had been persistent, I would have.
So that's a no.
That's correct.
You didn't report it to a police officer.
That's right.
You didn't report it to another attorney.
You're right.
What you did was you sent another email to Officer Keenan, right?
I sent lots of emails to Officer Keenan. I thought he was my staffer.
Well, you sent one 2 hours after this meeting where Avery Bancroft offered you a bribe.
Yes, that's correct.
You'd recognize it if I showed it to you.
I would.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness after opposing counsel?
Yes.
You're welcome. Ms. Covington, you recognize this, right?
I do, yes.
It's an email that you sent to Mickey Keenan.
It is, yes.
It's a fair and accurate copy.
Yes, it appears to be.
Your Honor, at this time, we now move this into evidence as State 7.
Any objection?
Without objection, Your Honor.
B7 is received.
So, Ms. Covington, you sent this email just 2 hours after Avery Bancroft tried to bribe you, right?
That's correct.
And you actually thanked Mickey Keenan for that meeting, didn't you?
Right, given that we'd had a long, productive meeting after that moment, yes.
I'm just asking for a yes or no to the words you wrote here. What you said was, thanks for setting up that meeting today.
That's correct.
You said, it was nice to see Avery Bancroft, right?
That's right.
You said that now, 2 hours after he bribed you, or attempted to bribe you, you were much more on board with the possibility of giving him another casino, right?
Right, given the conversation that we'd had after that point.
Ms. Covington, I'm just asking about the words that you used here. What you wrote was, now, I'm much more on board with the possibility of giving Avery Bancroft a second casino.
Yes, that's correct.
And then you wrote, Avery Bancroft seems to be willing to find a solution that's beneficial for all of us.
Right, he seemed to be willing to make those changes that I asked for.
Is that a yes to my question? The words you wrote were, Avery Bancroft seems to be willing to find a solution that's beneficial for all of us.
Yes, that's right.
Now, after this meeting where Avery Bancroft tried to bribe you, you set up another meeting, right?
Yes, and I met with both candidates again before the day of the vote.
That was on April 16th?
Yes.
Now, this meeting was scheduled to be in the Black Hotel Casino, one of the hotel suites, right?
Yes.
4 people were supposed to be there, right?
Yes, that's correct.
It would have been you, Avery Bancroft, Corey Hyde, and Mickey Keenan.
That's right.
But you didn't want Mickey Keenan there because one day before you found out that he was an officer.
No.
Ms. Covington, you recognize an email that you sent to Avery Bancroft one day before that meeting, right?
I would, yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness after opposing counsel. Permission to approach, Your Honor? Ms. Covington, you recognize this email?
Yes, I do.
It's a fair and accurate copy of one you sent to Avery Bancroft.
Yes, it appears to be.
Your Honor, at this time, we now move this into evidence as States 9, I believe.
I think it's 8.
8, I apologize.
Any objection?
No objection.
Now, you contacted Avery Bancroft one day before you met with her in the met with him in the VIP room.
Yes, that's right.
You told him that you guys got caught, right?
No.
Well, let's talk about the language that you used in this email. What you told Avery Bancroft was, Keenan knows about our call.
That's
Right.
correct.
You said something is up.
Yes, that's right. There was larger context. I'm happy to explain if you'd like.
No, thank you. Now, Ms. Covington, one day after you told Avery Bancroft, Keenan knows our call, something is up, you met with Avery Bancroft without Officer Keenan being there.
Yes, I was on the casino floor that day, and also, given some previous reactions of Officer Keenan, I thought it'd be best just to have it on the casino floor.
Ms. Covington, I'm just asking about a timeline here. So one day after you send this email to Avery Bancroft, you met without Officer Keenan being there, right?
Yes, that's correct. We met on the casino floor.
Now, you claim Avery Bancroft tried to offer you a bribe during this meeting?
No.
Well, you said you weren't sure, right? You don't know what
Only
was
now, hearing the testimony, am I uncertain about what were his actual intentions. At the time, I thought he was just bringing an extra briefcase, and I was clear with him that I didn't need the extra briefcase, I just needed a new proposal.
One day after meeting without Officer Keenan, you made a deposit for $250,000?
I did, yes.
Just to be clear, that's the same amount that was written on the napkin that you saw in court today?
Yes, it is.
And on direct examination, you said that you won all of that money at a publicity event?
That's correct.
Ms. Covington, did you receive a receipt for that gambling one?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis?
There's a piece of case law in the case law that we handed to you at the beginning of the trial called State versus Monarch. It's long-standing Midland Supreme Court precedent from 1908. What it says is that counsel is barred from insinuating with her questioning that the witness had, the defendant in a criminal case, who's not asserting an affirmative defense, had any burden or duty to bring any evidence to court, or that a lack of such evidence means that she might be guilty. And that's what counsel's question is doing. She's asking about a specific lack of a piece of physical evidence And it's not in court here. It's the state's job to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And State v. Monarch says that this question is improper because it's burden shifting.
Counsel.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yes.
Mr. Stern is actually leaving out the latter portion of State v. Monarch, which states that the prosecution can inquire to establish a lack of evidence. My question, did you receive a receipt from the casino, doesn't imply or insinuate that she had a responsibility to bring that. Furthermore, Your Honor, the only way that we'd be shifting a burden in this case to imply she had a responsibility is if we concede that these receipts exist. We don't concede they exist. We think that this is being fabricated by the defendant. We don't think she could have brought something to court today that simply, we believe, doesn't exist.
Agreed. For the record, State v. Monarch, the very last line says the prosecutor may reference a lack of evidence to support the defense theory of the case. That's a credibility argument. Based on that, following State v. Monarch, which this court is obviously bound by, the objections overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Covington, when you picked up your $250,000 from the Black Road Town Casino, did you receive a receipt?
No, I received the receipt before I left during the waiting period time. That was what I brought back in order to receive my money after the waiting period.
So bring me back to my question. When you picked up your $250,000 from the Black Road Town Casino, did they give you a receipt?
Well, they did at the start, but not at the end. I brought that back, handed it in to them in order to receive the money.
Ms. Covington, I'm asking if, when you picked up this money from the Black Bear Hotel and Casino, the $250,000, if they gave you any documentation showing that you won that money.
No, they didn't.
So it's your testimony that the Black Bear Hotel and Casino gave you $250,000 without any documentation?
That's right.
Did you tell anyone before today that you got that money from a publicity event?
Of course.
I want to turn your attention to April 19th. That was the day you were arrested?
It was, yes.
You waived all your Miranda rights.
I did, yes.
You told the police you had nothing to hide.
That's correct, yes.
During that interrogation, you never mentioned that you're a gambler, right?
Wasn't much of a conversation. I didn't mention that, no.
Ms. Covington, I'm just asking for a yes or no. Mr. Stern will have a chance to come up here and ask you to explain. Now, during that interrogation, you never mentioned that you're a gambler.
No, I didn't.
You never mentioned that you were gambling in the month of April.
No, again, I wasn't asked about this. I didn't have a chance. It wasn't much of a conversation.
I'm asking about what you told the police after you said you had nothing to hide, and you never said that you were gambling in the month of April.
That's correct. It became clear to me that they were accusing me.
Ms. Covington, like you said, you're a lawyer, right?
I was, yes.
You're familiar with cross-examination.
I am, yes.
So I'm just asking for a yes or no. You never told the police that you won that money at a publicity event, right?
No, I did not, for the reasons I described.
Now, the police actually showed you a copy of your bank statement, didn't they?
They did, yes.
They directed your attention to April 17th,
They did.
where you made a deposit of $250,000.
Yes.
And they said, that's a pretty big deposit, isn't it?
Yes, they said that.
To which you replied, size is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yes, it was clear that they were accusing me.
I'm just asking about what you said. And what you said after they asked you about that deposit was, size is in the eye of the beholder.
That's correct.
They also asked you about the briefcase you had on April 16th, right?
Yes, that's right.
When they asked you about the briefcase that you left the casino with on April 16th, you didn't tell them, well, that's the briefcase I always have.
That's correct.
What you said was, that's it, we're done here.
That's right. They were making accusations.
I'm just asking about what you said, Ms. Covington. When they asked about the briefcase you had on April 16th, what you said was, that's it, we're done here.
Objection,
Right,
Your Honor.
as is my right.
More prejudicial than probative. Permission to be heard?
Okay.
As this court knows, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that this witness has Miranda rights, and while she waived her Miranda rights at the beginning of the interrogation, she's allowed to invoke her right to end an interrogation at any point. For counsel to imply that her ending that interrogation in response to this question means that she's guilty, or that she would have responded adversely to her case to that question is improper, and 403 says that it should be excluded.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yes.
I'm not insinuating anything. I'm asking this witness what she said. Furthermore, we entered a transcript of this conversation, which includes these statements at the beginning of our trial. If opposing counsel had a problem with those exact statements at the very end of that transcript, they should have raised an objection then. Oh,
Well. Objections overruled.
so when they asked you about the briefcase you had on April 16th, what you said was, that's it, we're done here.
Those are my rights. Yes, I asserted them.
So you said, that's it, we're done here. Those were your words?
Objection,
Yes.
Your Honor. Answer.
Sustained.
Now, you said that you had no reason to accept the bribe, right?
That's correct. I didn't want a bribe. I wasn't soliciting a bribe.
You have $134,000 worth of debt, don't you?
Yes, mortgages, student loans, things I pay off over time.
So that he asked you have $134,000 worth of debt?
Yes,
As the chair of the commission, you make $67,000 a year.
you're right. I took a pay cut when I started working there.
You owe more than twice what you make in a single year as the chair of the commission, right?
You're right. I decided to pay those off over time.
At the time of the alleged bribe, April 2015, you owed more than twice what you made in a single year as the chair, yes or no?
That's correct.
Now, if you had $250,000, you could pay that off, right?
Sure, if I was going to pay my mortgage off all in one sitting,
So that he asked my question, if you had $250,000, you could pay off your debt.
I could, yes.
And after you made a deposit for $250,000, you voted for Avery Bancroft's proposal.
It was the better proposal, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Covington. No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to approach and retrieve states 6, 7, and 8.
Yes.
Redirect
And permission to
examination.
publish to the jury.
Yes. Mr. Stern, you're witnessing.
Thank you. Ms. Covington, Ms. Oliver asked you why you were talking about Mickey Keenan in that email to Avery Bancroft, and then she didn't allow you to explain your answer. Would you like to explain why you wrote that email to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Sure, so Officer Keenan had brought up this possibility of a bribe. That made me very uncomfortable. I tried to be direct with him from that point on. He was acting strangely in my office, so I wanted to indicate to Mr. Bancroft that something was strange with him. I didn't know if he was on his own speaking to Mr. Bancroft, but I wanted to be clear with him that I wasn't involved. So at that point, I felt more comfortable meeting without Mr. Keenan present.
When was the first time that Mr. Keenan approached you and did something that you thought wasn't right?
That was in April.
What was that? Can you remind the ladies and gentlemen?
That was when he asked whether I'd be willing to accept something on the side.
When you wrote that email to Mr. Keenan telling him you wanted to show him how business really got done, what did you mean?
I meant that I wanted him to understand that wasn't what this office wanted. I didn't want that. I wanted to deal with business as it should be dealt with, honestly.
Ms. Oliver also asked you whether or not you told anybody about your gambling winnings after you won them. Did you?
Of course, absolutely.
Who did you tell?
I told family, I don't know, friends.
And did people see you win that money?
Of course, absolutely. Anyone who was there that night.
Ms. Oliver presented
Objection,
you...
Your Honor. Speculation. May I be heard? Mr. Stern did move on pretty quickly before I could make the objection, so I understand it's on the record, but it's speculation.
That other people saw?
Yes, she testified definitively that other people would have seen her win this money. That's speculation.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Aside from the fact that I'm not sure it actually hurts the prosecution. But go ahead.
Unless they're all blind, she can rationally base that on her perception according to Rule 701.
Yeah, I mean, I'll instruct the jury, obviously, that this witness can't possibly know what other people saw. But she can testify that other people were there. I think that testimony is clear.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ma'am, Ms. Oliver also presented you with a financial disclosure form that she filled out. Would you recognize that if I showed it to you again?
I would, yes.
Ma'am, on this financial disclosure form, do you report the money that you won gambling?
I do, yes.
Can you just indicate where that is?
It's right under income.
Thank you, ma'am. Nothing further. Permission to retrieve the document?
I'll actually be using it for recross, Your Honor.
Okay.
You said that Mickey Keenan suggested the possibility of a bribe to you?
I did, yes.
You claimed that made you feel so uncomfortable, right?
Yes, that's right.
You never fired Mickey Keenan after you claimed you felt uncomfortable when he suggested a bribe, did you?
Right, given the reputation of the commission, I wanted to give him a second chance. I brought him to the next meeting.
Ms. Covington, I'm not asking about the reputation of the commission. I'm asking about what you did. You did not fire Mickey Keenan after you claimed you felt uncomfortable when he suggested a bribe.
Right, and that's why.
What you did was you brought him along to the meeting you had with Avery Bancroft, right?
Right, that's correct.
You brought him along to the meeting where Avery Bancroft offered you a bribe.
That's correct.
Now, I want to talk about that financial disclosure form right in front of you. You said that you reported $350,000 of gambling winnings, right?
Yes.
I want to make something very clear. The Black Bear Hotel and Casino, they didn't report that on this form, right?
No, I did.
You filled this out.
Yes, that's right.
You filled this out after you were arrested.
Yes, that's right.
You filled this out after you were arrested for accepting a bribe from Avery Bancroft.
Right, this is
Objection, Your
how.
Honor. Asked and answered.
So, Ms. Covington, you reported that you won gambling money after you'd been arrested for bribe.
As I always report on my financial disclosure forms.
Thank you, Ms. Covington. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right.
No further questioning, Your Honor.
So,
Thank you.
Permission to retrieve the financial disclosure form?
sir, while you do that, can I inquire the timekeeper as to what all lost time is?
All else is 505.
5:05.
At this time, the defense calls Ms. Corey Hyde to the stand. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Through your ways.
Good afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hi, my name is Corey Hyde, with a Y, not an I, Hyde.
What's your occupation, ma'am?
I'm the executive assistant to Avery Bancroft.
Do you like your boss?
He's fine. Makes a lot of dad jokes, but otherwise, yeah, he's fine.
Well, what is the work that you do for him entail?
Well, mostly, I set up meetings, just trying to make his life easier.
How long have you been working for Mr. Bancroft?
Several years now, yeah. It's a pretty easy gig, 8 to 10 he has a letter request, and then 10 to 5 I just kind of write cover letters and work on my resume.
Ma'am, do you know someone named Mickey Keenan?
Yeah, oh yeah.
How do you know him?
I know him because he called me. He called me up and he said he was an auditor for the commission. And he wanted to talk to me about some of the details of the proposal that my boss was submitting.
Did you get a chance to meet with him?
Yeah.
How did that meeting go?
Not exactly as expected. I mean, he comes in and then he tells me that he's actually a police officer.
Did he say anything